Based on facts, credible testimony, and evidence, not just assumptions and prejudices. Dallas County in particular has a troubling history of wrongful convictions, especially when it comes to black men. You may recall over 20 men who were exonerated under the tenure of D.A. Craig Watkins, and this is deeply concerning for us as it was then, as it is now.
In prostitution. And so Mr. Patterson is sitting in prison today because he was painted as a serial rapist. Many of the victims who had made allegations against Mr. Patterson was not present at his trial. He never had the opportunity to cross-examine these people. Detective Holmes here in Dallas had informed the jury that two other people, that was DNA, that Patterson had raped two other individuals. And that DNA wasn't before the court, neither were those people. And so this man is sitting in prison on a life sentence, accused of raping people he never got the opportunity to even confront. Our judicial system is way better than that. Common sense dictates that it is. His defense attorney did not cross-examine the victim, the alleged victim who he was supposed to have raped. Mr. Patterson made statements that he had never seen this person. The defensive theory of the case was consent, when a lady is saying that she was raped at gunpoint. So we're not here to discount anyone else's being a victim. We're not saying that the person wasn't raped. We're just simply saying Mr. Patterson didn't do it. Now, there was some point during this investigation that the state obtained a penile swab of Mr. Patterson. That was to get some DNA from him to determine if his DNA was found inside the alleged victim, and vice versa. And I discovered that the results of that test was never admitted into evidence. And that was very concerning to me, because that's the smoking gun. The state believed that they could determine within 24 hours, get a DNA test within 24 hours, they could determine if Patterson actually was the assailant. And turns out the DNA results shows that he wasn't the assailant. And let me be very clear on that. There was no evidence of pattern DNA inside the victim, and there was no evidence of the victim inside Patterson.
Let me just say, I agree with what Mr. Collins just said. Sitting through that trial, I was just like, oh my God, this cannot be real. I'm not a lawyer, nor do I know much about the law. But it didn't take a lot for me to know that the law was not being applied as I sat through that trial. I stand here as a woman who believes that every woman has a right to walk the streets safely. And when my son was alleged to be the Dallas Uptown serial rapist, it blew my mind. And I say alleged because I could not believe what I had just heard. So as a woman, first, I began to look around and see my son's history of being who I knew him to be. It just didn't add up. So as his mother, I started making sure that I do my homework, not to excuse his behavior by any means, but to understand that is still my child. And if they allege this is something that he did, then I wanted him to get fair punishment. Justice must be served regardless if it's your child or not. So as his mother, I began to seek legal counsel because they had arrested him. And after February the 2nd, I hadn't seen him anymore on this side of the concrete. They set his bail so high that it was impossible to afford it. As I sought out attorneys, I started asking them, doesn't one of the amendments, I believe it is the 6th Amendment, where bail should not be set so high that one cannot afford it? $753,388 is way beyond my pay grade. So he had to sit there. Fast forward, after the trial, I was yet determined. I went to my son, I said, son, let me tell you, I'm the only one that's gonna stick by you to the end. If you lie to me, I'm going to walk away just like everyone else has. My son said, Mom, I did not rape anyone. And they may as well give me life, because I'm not taking a plea deal for something I did not do. When my son looked at me in my eyes and said that to me, as a mother, I have never been one to be in denial about my children. I knew he was telling me the truth, so I sat out to say, okay. The way I met Mr. Collins was just by favor. I came down here to file his paperwork because Dallas County got to the point when it came to Draylon Patterson's case, his paperwork wouldn't get filed. It would be thrown somewhere, I don't know what would happen to it. So we made it our business to make sure if you made one copy, you make me a copy, send it to me, and I'll make sure it gets filed. It gets filed. People understand I want to help you as women know that I am out here to make sure you are safe. But then as a mother, I'm out here to tell other mothers how to make sure your child receives fair justice in Dallas County. I'm not here trying to get somebody off for something that they did. I'm here trying to get somebody off for something they did not do according to what has been proven by the apex predator, Attorney Collins. So when you get a conviction, mothers, fathers, I'm the mother, the aunt, the whoever, don't have me, make sure you do your motion for new trial within 30 days. That is what preserves the evidence. That is the only reason why Draylon and I are in this position right now. If you do not do that, you may as well throw in the hat. Because then you're going to have a loved one sitting there for 30 years, although he's innocent. The second thing I will say, you got to turn a deaf ear to fear. Because people are going to get in your ear. Family members especially will tell you to, well, they got life. Let them go on and do what they got to do. But just 3 years previous to that, they were standing up, rah, 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 and he was the best thing since sliced bread, peanut butter, and jelly. But once the road gets tough, they all got going. Mothers, if you know your children, stick by your child. And I don't know who you trust, but I trusted God. And trust God's process. His timing works well. Although Mr. Collins never met me, but when I came down to Lusteric to go up there and look for his new appellate attorney, I said, Father, I cannot go through this here public defender stuff ever again. And when you have a public defender come to you as a mother and tell your son to take the plea deal. You're supposed to be defending my son. Have you looked at the paperwork? Have you done anything? Well, they're going to give him life. Well, how do you know they're going to give him life? You're the attorney. But nonetheless, let me not get started because I can go on and on about the horror that I've had to experience. But nonetheless, make sure if your child says they did not do it and you know your child, you trust your child, you trust the process, and do not give up. Because that is what they do, and they drag it on so long. To have to watch my grandchildren ask, when is daddy coming home? That's painful. Especially, I know what they say, And I know what he was doing as far as prostitution goes, but one thing I do know, he was a good father. Whatever he did it after hours. Don't make it right, but it makes it real. And that's what that is. And do not give up on your children. Just don't give up on your children. It hurts. It's a long process. It's scary. But God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of sound mind. And that's what you have to do. Turn a deaf ear to fear. And then you got to walk by faith, not by sight. Because I'm telling you, looking at life, that's all I see. Every time I pull up my son's case, life. And it's still pending. I don't understand this. Mr. Collins has done everything that I think should open the doors. But who am I? Are we going to follow our Constitution? Or are we going to remain unconstitutional? That's what I would like to ask Dallas County.